Hey, wake up. I'm here. Get with the program. Hey, come on. We're here. We're starting off a brand new Thursday stream here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Welcome. I am the man they call Warren. Hope everyone is having a lovely week. Hat looks a little weird. We're gonna fix it as I welcome you all. Hope you're having a lovely week so far. It's almost done. Hang in there. It is Thursday. It's a good time. We're gonna have a nice stream tonight, I'd say. It's gonna be nice. I think we're gonna have a nice stream, a nice time. It's gonna be very nice. Got a couple of topics there. Hoist in the holster. And depending how time goes, the good news is that eventually my throat will clear. The good news, if there was ever good news to be had, is that I got around to watching Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor, which I hadn't done yet. So if we don't go too long on the two subjects that are lined up for there's really two topics. The two topics that we have lined up for the stream tonight, you just might get lucky and have yourself a cold as ice Before Dishonor review. But if not, if we go a little long, I will record it as an aside and release it, and it'll be out there for the record. Why is my throat is congested? It's all clamped up for some reason. I haven't even started talking yet. It's that's preposterous. You can never win with the physicality, the mortality of man. You just cannot win. I'll try to win in other circumstances. Is that okay? All right. So yeah. Not much has happened over the past couple of days. That is of any interest, I should say. There's always things going on, but this isn't my vent session. Y'all are not my therapist. I'm not gonna sit down here and start breaking down everything that's wrong, everything that's been going on. You're here for some good times. And that's what I plan to deliver. That's what I've got set up here for you tonight. I watched the Grand Theft Auto 6 sneak peek trailer. I don't know exactly how you I don't know exactly how you'd go around calling that, right? And I have some thoughts, of course, as I should. First of all, Silver Star Simtar. Nice to see you, Silver Apocalypse. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel, and Meggy O'Kenna as well. It is all nice. Very nice to see you as well. Welcome to the chat. All in is going to be the third AEW pay-per-view in a row. I'm skipping. By God, man. Fake fan. But yeah, I did end up watching the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer thing on YouTube. Not on was that the thing that they were that was supposed to be broadcast on Netflix? But it also was on YouTube. I don't understand that strategy. Or is it something else? If the thing on Netflix was like extended and they're having dev commentary or interviews or whatnot, that's one thing. But I mean, like I didn't quite just the fact that it could be that it was streaming everywhere on YouTube. I was like, who cares? Who cares? Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna turn on Netflix to watch that and just gonna plop on my. Just gonna do that. I'm gonna watch my. Gonna watch it on YouTube whenever I get a chance, and I did get a chance over dinner. Decided to watch that, and I mean, listen, it's impressive. It is incredibly impressive from a technical graphical standpoint. You know, you're like, Jesus Christ. And you'd think that with all the years that they've put into it, that, you know, this would be like the expectation right there, right? I think this is what pretty much everyone was hoping for. You know, the animations are great. The characters, they don't look like dolls. You know what I mean? They don't move around like dolls. They look like humans, right? And the thing technically the thing that impressed me the most was sliding out of a cutscene and right into combat. I thought that was sick. That was awesome. I was like, oh, that's actually really hot. you know, if you've seen it, you know, when the first dust up occurs in the trailer, when he's talking to this one dude, and then suddenly the cops break in, and it just seamlessly transitions into that. You're like, holy moly. That was really, really impressive. But I don't know what my expectations were otherwise, because then it's like, well, you're showing off your story mode, and there's a lot of cutscenes, and yes, there's gameplay, and the gameplay is perfectly scripted. You know, of course it is that. Of course it's going to be that. They're not going to do like the Star Citizen devs did it, you know, 2 weeks ago or whatever, 10 days ago. You know, it's a controlled environment, and you know, and everything is perfectly scripted, and everything's coming in great, and for the gameplay that we saw, I was like, you know, this is pretty cool. I just would like, I guess what I would have liked to see is more organic gameplay, and that's going to come, right? And I guess I would have liked to see more of the open world elements, but then I countered myself and I said, well, what more do you want? It's a Grand Theft Auto game. They're all open world. If at this point you haven't figured out what an open world is, Warren, what do you know? What's the point? I guess I would have just liked to have seen more chaotic stuff, if that makes sense, as opposed to, you know, the story beats and the story missions and everything being so perfectly sanitized. And I know that's going to come, right? It's just, I watched the trailer and was like, this looks like an incredible technological feat, especially if everything that we saw was authentically captured from a PS5 and not a PS5 Pro, by the way. They just said a PlayStation 5, right? And okay, this is extremely impressive. Like, this is very, very, very impressive. But otherwise, I'm like, you know, I just kind of shrugged at it and was like, well, it's a game trailer. But Warren, did you see Under the Ocean? Yeah, it's impressive. You know, they showed us the water level. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It left it ultimately. Once I started getting into the nitty gritty, thinking about the game itself, I felt oddly unsatisfied. I'm like, all right, it's Grand Theft Auto, but it looks fucking pretty, and I guess that's a winning combination. You know, but I know, like, you know, down the road we're gonna get to see all sorts of different stuff, and we're gonna see reviewers and streamers play it, and I'm very much into seeing how this open world is going to be like, you know, because the missions were very cool, very pretty. Dialogue is awesome. Character models are tremendous, but you know, I really want to see some organic gameplay. And that's fine. I'm just not, I wasn't bouncing up and down in my chair. And here's the other thing too, that I think, again, this was a snippet, and I don't want to, I don't want to give the impression that I'm basing all of my that I'm basing my like or dislike of the game off of a 25-minute sort of sneak peek type of thing. But I guess one of the things that really makes Grand Theft Auto, I find special, and that falls flat to a lot of people who play, is the level of satire that goes into it. How much Grand Theft Auto takes the piss out of the United States and hypercapitalism and hyperviolence, and turns it into this thing where it doesn't take itself too seriously, Because it's a very Grand Theft Auto 5 and 4 are very funny games. And they're all extremely, extremely satirical. They're all there's in every game there's commentary on the state of on the state of the United States at that point. At that point in time. And I think it's funny. And I didn't get that. I didn't get that level of satire watching the trailer. I feel like now this, the stakes, they all seem very serious. Everything feels very serious and extremely grounded. Yeah, we did have the one commercial for the meat burger. I forget what it was called. And that's completely in the tone, but like Michael in the previous game, was he was a bit of a jackass and not an entirely serious person, right? And I don't know. I'd be lying if I were telling you, oh no, this stunk. What a bad trailer, so on and so forth. That would be just outright lying. And that I wasn't impressed with the tech. I really am. But I don't know, the satirical elements I think are important to Grand Theft Auto. Didn't feel them there. Everything feels very, very serious. Game mechanic with the two main protagonists seems very, very interesting. We'll see. We'll see. It's a nice little amuse-bouche, but see, I'm not a graphics guy. Here's the thing. It's like, I'm not a graphics guy, and I can tell for years, decades probably even at this point, I have not been a vocal supporter of photorealism in games. I think photorealism in games is stifling innovation in games. Because more time is spent trying to more dev time, there we go, is spent trying to hit these levels of realism, as opposed to allowing the devs and the creatives to come up with new systems and try out new things, which is why I'm such a fan of indie games in general, because a lot of them will hit that sweet spot of, this is a very, very familiar game, but the systems are very, very unique, right? So I don't care about photorealism. I don't care about, to me, it's not that big of a hallmark. I much prefer having a game that has, that breaks from the need for everything to look realistic and provide us with a really fun, out of this world type of game experience. That's just me. So this is not something that will have me cheering, that'll have me going on Reddit or forums, Game Facts, does that still exist? You know, and chanting, you know, GTA 6, GTA 6. It's pretty, it's a hell of an achievement, and I can recognize that, and it's a gorgeous game, and there's mechanics in there that if they are indeed in the game, my mind's kind of blown. Because it's like I told my son after we were done, it's like if they were able to do that kind of game on PlayStation hardware, you know, and it runs exactly like we saw here without any substantial jank or, you know, interminable bugs, then yeah, let's fucking go. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be legitimately tremendous. Anyway, we'll see how that all turns out. But I mean, that's what I think. I mean, it's technically it's impressive. The trailer looks like every other gameplay trailer that you can see, only prettier. You know, it's a guy shooting people and he gets into cover, and I'm like, I'm not like, the mechanics aren't like throwing me for a loop. Anyway, there'll be more to come. But as it stands right now, I'm like, yeah, okay. Jay Luthi, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It definitely looks like a $1 billion game, but much like this weekend's pay-per-view, shrug. What a way to tie everything together. I mean, yes, it does look like a $1 billion video game. Like, that's what it looks like. And at this point, right, it should look the way it does. And I have no qualms with that. Sports and Things shows. How you doing, Carlos? Welcome to the chat. It looks good, but I want to see gameplay. I want to see more than what we saw. Like I said, I want to see the open world in action. That's what I want to see. I want things that aren't perfectly scripted for mass consumption. I want streamers going around and doing stupid shit. That's the stuff I want to see. And it's not, look, I'm okay with it. Like, it was never going to be a day one purchase for me. I'm not that deeply invested. It's definitely not and look, even if I wanted to make it a day one purchase, from what I understand, there's not going to be a PC port on launch, right? That's coming later. So it is what it is. So, you know, it's not even like I'm going to be able to play it on day one, and I don't care. I'm probably just going to wait for a discount regardless because I'm a cheap ass gamer. GTA, I think today's society doesn't pick up or appreciate subtlety and metaphor, and it's lost on the game buying public. True. It's lost on most publics, in fact. Let's watch some wrestling. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. That's some long ass procrastination you've been doing recently. It's nice to see you again. We can create any creature our imagination can come up with, and we go with, oh, here's another regular ass human. I mean, I guess it's relatable. I understand too. It's just like hyperrealism is, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a plague. Anyway, in game development doesn't make games better. GTA needs to make 15 million day one to be profitable. No time for nuance. Satirical story. Yeah, I mean, that is also true. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Wait, what do you mean GTA 6 has a hunger meter? It's GTA, not Minecraft. That reminds me. Did I hear this right? That there was going to be, that the hunger meter is like it will affect your appearance. Did I get that right? Like if you overeat or you don't eat enough, you'll get like tubby or you'll get skinnier. Cause me knowing that, I am ready, like I'm ready to go and push and see just how fat the characters can get. Like that to me right there is a selling point. That's a key selling point. Exactly like in San Andreas. And then they're bringing that back. And then if you don't sleep enough, then your appearance changes too. And you know, like if they and for the sleep stuff, if it goes beyond just like, oh look, he's got bags under his eyes, or look, she, you know, the color's out of her cheeks, because if it affects like how they react to things, that's funnier, right? Because if you don't, when you lack sleep, you get irritable. And I think that would be really funny if like it, you know, it opened up some avenues, I guess, that if it opened up some avenues to get some new reactions or some new things that open only if you're like sleep deprived or something. If it's just like, oh, she looks like shit, you know, it's like, you know, more than the Paragon Renegade reputation thing in the Mass Effect games, where you get real pretty if you're a high level Paragon, and then you're like, you know, you've got scars and your flesh is opening up and you've got red eyes if you're a renegade, and then doing and going down that path. Travis, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, AEW1. Nice to see you, member of the channel. We did do some Grand Theft Auto 6ing. We did. KOTOR, where I'm growing horns as a Sith, exactly, you know. Hey, DJ Convoy, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. That stuff is why I really don't care for later iterations of GTA. I don't need a life simulator. I want to steal cars. Yeah, and yes. You want to rob banks. You want to do heists. That sounds like I just spoke German there. You want to do heist and steal cars. The last one I played was far too involved. Get a job, do this, do that. Was that but you know, like there's a crowd for that too, right? There's a lot of games. There's a lot of games these days that come out that are just like very mundane, get your tasks done type of situation too, you know. Somewhat popular. I don't know. It's very much the thing in indie horror games, you know, where it's like, you know, your horror game happens during your shift at the convenience store at the 7-Eleven or whatever. And then you have to do all your 7-Eleven chores. Then all of a sudden, like a guy walks in and, you know, he's swinging an axe at you, or, you know, he's got demonic teeth, or, you know. Anyway. Look, of course I'm going to keep an eye on it. You know, it's the biggest game of the decade without a shadow of a doubt. And it's impressive as hell. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. It will certainly be an achievement, a technical achievement, and hopefully the Rockstar Games makes all of the monies on top of that. Speaking of making all of the monies, there's no real tangent there. Let's start getting into the vibe of talking about professional wrestling tonight. This is not a gaming stream. We talk about pro res here. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of us who do it. You know, sometimes I'm like, maybe I should multi-stream onto TikTok. Maybe I should get the TikTok audience in on me. And then I'm like, no, I shouldn't. Then I'm like, no, that's a bad idea. I don't want that audience. That's the thing. Anyway, welcome to those of you whom I haven't welcomed officially. You are considered welcome. Leave a like on this stream if you haven't already. That would be just lovely and tremendous. We are going to be doing a bunch of neat little topics tonight. We're going to be talking, of course, we're going to be previewing All In. I've got all of that set up. It's all ready to go. And we will also be chatting about that WWE ESPN report that came out. Was that yesterday? It feels like it was already like 3 years ago. Was it yesterday or Tuesday? I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday. No, it was Tuesday. And it came to a head yesterday. Yeah, that's it. So we'll be talking about that. And look, I watched Death Before Dishonor. So I was able to get around to watch it. So if I don't take forever with my other two topics, we'll jump right into the Death Before Dishonor review. And if I don't have time to do the Death Before Dishonor review, I will record it offline and we'll make it available for the coldest takes you could ever hope for this for this past Ring of Honor pay-per-view. But do leave a like. I said that already. And yeah, and the Dynamite review has been released. So I ejected from my soul today's review of last night's Dynamite, a Dynamite that I thought, as the title of my review implies, was juiceless. I didn't think it was necessarily exciting. Didn't particularly think it was a good go-home show. And I tell you why, and I explain why. And it's a fairly short review for Warren Hayes. It lasted just over 40 minutes, which is unusual for me. For those of you who have been around for a while, it is very unusual for me to be able to control myself like that. So check that out whenever you do get a chance. It's also available on your favorite podcast application too. So the Dynamite review, it's what's for dinner. No, that's not right, Warren, you silly man. So that's it. I think that covers everything. I think that covers everything. So you know what that means. Big Man Dogs, nice to see you. That's what it means. It's time to salute Big Man Dogs, just as our boy, our pal, Jacques Moliere shows up.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere.
That's right.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
You know, now that we know that Jacques has children, did he teach his kids how to be a nunchuck master? I wonder if he taught his kids how to be a nunchuck master. We love Jacques. We love Jacques Moliere quite a bit. All right, that's enough. We're good now. There's a nice little docket for you. There's a nice little docket. Thank you, everyone, for being here. By the way, I appreciate it tremendously. Jacques' Netflix account password is Hooyah with an exclamation mark. And one of the O's is a 0 because you have to add in one of those. So a couple of days ago, there was a report that showed up on SE Scoops, or SES Scoops as I often call it, and then realized that that's not the name. Anyway, an article showed up penned by BJ Bethel, and I just realized here. Hang on a second. This is the yeah. The article is gone. Hang on. I forgot to add. I I forgot to add some stuff here to the docket, but that's fine. I've got it all here. Just in this folder right here. There we go. This is compelling stuff. I swear I'm prepared. I swear I'm prepared. There we go. I've got it. I've got nothing to shoot up on stream, but let's start that intro again, shall we? So, a couple of days ago, there was an article that showed up on SES Scoops by BJ Bethel, wrestling reporter. That was a little surprising, a little shocking. It is no longer available on. SES Scoops. It has been taken down, as you can see here. For those of you with the benefit of video, I just clicked on the link, and we're getting a 404 on it. So, why did that happen? What's going on exactly? Well, the article basically stated that that ESPN in a couple of years, once their deal with WWE was going to come to an end, would not renew it. So a year into the deal, we're already saying, oh well, we're people at ESPN are already talking about, this is done. We're finished here. We're finished with WWE. We know this a full year in advance. And it was a bit of a shocking article, and it came from BJ Bethel, who, is an actual reporter, has the bona fides, and a guy who has covered pro wrestling quite a bit, and that we've talked about here positively in the past as well, in regards to, the 500,000 viewers, the numbers that were coming from HBO Max, people watching Dynamite, if you remember all of that. But this was an experience. This was a hell of a roller coaster, if you were like me and following this very closely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through everything that happened to me as I was, everything that came, how everything came together as I was hanging around the internet and watching to see what was going to happen next, type of thing. So, as we mentioned, SES Scoops published an article. It is no longer online, but your boy has he saved a copy of the article, and I'm going to read it here. The title was "Latest on WWE ESPN Relationship, ESPN Price Hike." And as we mentioned, from BJ Bethel, and this was published on August 25th. Only 1 year into ESPN's 5-year deal to air World Wrestling Entertainment events on its Unlimited app, the network won't be renewing the contract when it expires. Multiple sources told SES Scoops the deal faced several problems, including the current media market, quote-unquote, culture and synergy issues between the two companies, and the failure of cable providers to pick up the cost of the app for customers. ESPN and WWE reached a 5-year deal. $1.6 billion was the amount in 2025 to air premium live events on ESPN's new app, which launched a year ago. The deal between WWE and ESPN came together at the executive level within Disney and TKO, sources told SC Scoops, when the deal was announced last year. One source said there were virtually no discussions between the two companies when the app was launched and WWE PLEs began airing on it. That changed recently with ESPN promoting WWE content, making the PLEs available on lesser tiers, and airing the first hour of shows on linear networks, much to the chagrin of sports fans. Awful Announcing reported last week that there had been more WWE discussion on the main ESPN networks, on the main ESPN network's 3 morning shows than there had been of Major League Baseball and the NHL, a disparity that drew major backlash on social media and from media publications. On Monday, Sports Media Watch reported the app's monthly and annual rates will both rise next month. The price of the app through the Hulu and Disney Plus bundle changed as of last week, according to Sarah Fisher at Axios. Around 4 out of 5 ESPN Unlimited subscribers get the app through the bundle. Disney saw the Unlimited app as a way to recoup carriage fee losses as fewer people purchased cable packages. Disney executives viewed WWE PLEs as an extra incentive for providers to strike deals to offer the app to customers. Since then, the PLEs have become more available to customers. Without providers picking up the app, it's been on ESPN to sell it directly to customers, something it never considered when it rolled out. Nearly all press releases from ESPN when the app was released said it would be available from cable providers and mentioned its standalone cost only in passing. When asked if anything could save the deal, one source pointed to a massive increase in subscriptions or providers picking up the app at a deal friendly to ESPN. So that was kind of shocking news. That was kind of surprising, quite frankly. And before we move on, I want to say hello to the King of the North. Nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the chat. And Kristen Ashley, hello, darling. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. So yeah, that was, a significant bit of news. Even if I, as I was reading it, it was kind of like, wait a second, where are the exact statements? Like, how do we know that for sure that these people that BJ is talking to are indeed confirming that next year the deal will not be renewed? It seemed a little strange. It seemed a little off to me. Now, not that I think that BJ Bethel would invent something. I don't think, in fact, I'm convinced he just wouldn't make this up out of thin air, especially with what happened. Like, if he did, that was, it turned out to be the most ill-advised lie of all time. But there's a lot of people say, oh, you're just making shit up, and then you're like, well, why? Why would BJ Bethel, who is a reporter, a journalist, why would he stake his reputation and say, I'm going to make something up that is completely untrue and easily verifiable as false? Why would I do that? Why would I take the risk of my reputation getting a hit? No, he put this news out in that regard, right? Anyway, so that sat around and I was like, okay, interesting. I thought it was very interesting news nonetheless, even if it felt a little thin. Maybe, wondering, what exactly was going on, right? Anyway, we'll get to the analysis more in a second. I just want to walk you through the events as they unfolded in front of my eyes, right? Got our boy Josh Nason from over there at the Wrestling Observer. He posted on Blue Sky the following, just a couple of hours after this article was published. He posted this: regarding the story circulating today stating ESPN has already chosen to not renew the WWE deal that expires in 4 years, I was told by someone that would know that claim is, quote unquote, completely baseless. Josh is connected, so I was like, very interesting. Also, not surprising. I'm not expecting Josh's source or anyone else's ESPN source or WWE sources or whatever, if they're involved in the minutia and the nitty gritty of this deal, to go, ESPN is done with WWE, and they're going to deny it. I mean, that's what makes the most sense. So to me, I see Josh pop up with this, and I'm like, of course they're going to deny it. It just makes sense. I'm not upset. I'm not shaking my fist at Josh, like, this is nonsense. No, you got to get this stuff on the record too. You got to get this stuff out there, right? And then more and more people start reporting on it, such as on Post Wrestling. It says here, I'll read the article. ESPN is publicly denying a report that its deal with WWE will cease after the conclusion of its 5-year agreement. This happened, again, just a couple of hours after the Josh Nason post. On Tuesday, a report by BJ Bethel of SC Scoops stated that the deal wasn't expected to be renewed once it expired in 4 years. The report cited several sources indicating the deal faced, quote, several problems, including the current media market, culture and synergy issues between the two companies, and the failure of cable providers to pick up the cost of the app for customers, unquote. We just read all of that. Post Wrestling reached out to officials at WWE and ESPN for comment on the story and was issued the following from ESPN, quote, there is no truth to the report that we have decided not to renew. They never checked with us before publishing, and had they, we would have told them that was completely false. So, referring, of course, to SCS Scoops. Post Wrestling contacted Bethel for clarification on his outreach. And here's where it really falls off a cliff. He stated he attempted to contact ESPN through a public 1-888 number that the broadcaster advertises online. He also attempted to use a contact form through ESPN's website, but was not successful in making contact with anyone. WWE did not provide a comment for this report. Bethel has publicly stated that he stands by his reporting. And here is what he said. It's not just John and Brandon making this up. He came out on Twitter, public forum, and said, I tried contacting ESPN through support.espn.com/HC/EN-US/requests, and then the URL gets truncated last night. I also left a voicemail on a support phone line. In fairness, I forgot about previous correspondence with Ben in April and his email, or I would have contacted him there. I'm also standing by my story. Ben? Who's Ben? What's this Ben fella? Where did he come? Who's this new player here that just showed up? Well, it's Ben Carfado, who just so happens to be a communications. He's in ESPN communications, head of the NBA Finals on NBC, and executive communications and more. He's a communications pro here. He's the Ben in question, and BJ is bringing up his name here because previous to BJ tweeting his explanation, Ben tweeted the following statement, quote, I just realized it's the quote that was given to Post Wrestling. Ben went and posted it on social media. There is no truth to the report that we have decided not to renew. They have never checked with us before publishing, and had they, we would have told them that was completely false. So basically, the same statement was published on the internet, and that's what BJ Bethel reacted to. And then this all comes to a head the next day when SC Scoops posts the following statement on its website the next day. Statement on our WWE ESPN report. Yesterday, we published a report from BJ Bethel on WWE's relationship with ESPN. We are retracting that story in its entirety. Before a story like this runs, the subject deserves a direct chance to respond, and that step wasn't taken to the appropriate standard. Since the publication, it's come to light that this effort fell way short. We ran it, and the buck stops with us. We've parted ways with Mr. Bethel, have had our verification procedures reviewed by an outside partner, and updated our process as a result. So this all ended with whatever relationship that BJ Bethel had with SC Scoops just coming to an end. SC Scoops coming straight out and taking responsibility for publishing it, taking corrective measures, and, you know, say firing the guy, but I don't know, you know, I'd say firing the guy, but we don't know what level of relationship he had really. And was he a freelancer? Was that? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But they're not going to be working with him. They're not going to be working with our friend BJ Bethel anytime soon. Well, that was quite a roller coaster. That was quite a roller coaster, and there's some stuff to pick apart here, and I want to look. We'll start with the essential stuff, right? The report in and about itself. Like I said, I don't think BJ Bethel made this up. To me, I can't stand it when when social media users get all hyped up and excited over the fact that a report is shown to be false or might be false or gets discredited or whatever because you're making shit up, especially when if it comes from Twitter rando letters numbers username. That's one thing. Then you can be like, this guy's making shit up. But when it comes to someone who is making this their career, like BJ Bethel, like Dave Meltzer, like Mike Johnson, these people are not making shit up. If these people had been making shit up throughout their career, they would have been exposed and they would not have had a career in the first place. BJ is a former sports reporter, if I'm not mistaken, and decided to go off freelance, focus on pro wrestling. He studied, he's got the bona fides, he knows what he's doing, right? Which makes this all the more surprising that this situation came undone as it was here. As I don't understand it. I legitimately don't understand what possessed him to come with this, to publish this article without doing some proper due diligence. Like, I don't understand. Look, his tweet says right here, he admits it himself. This is something I would have never publicly addressed. The fact that he tried to contact ESPN via their support form and then calling the support line, the 1-888 support line, saying, I'm looking for a comment. I'm a journalist. The guys and gals in support are just like, delete. They're throwing that into the bucket. And that's not how you do. And it's especially egregious because he says it himself. I spoke with Ben, what's his name again? Ben Carfado, the communications guy, the public relations guy, who apparently his name shows up on all of these press releases that ESPN puts out. He says, I was in communication with him back in April. Guess I forgot his email. You're like, brother, why did you do this then? Why didn't you take the time to do this properly? What was the emergency to publish this story? I feel like this is a story that he worked with his own sources, because there's not many wrestling journalists who have sources within ESPN. There's some, but not a lot. So I don't think there's some loose lips going around. I think he worked this with his sources. The only reason I can think that he wanted to put this out quickly is because he was afraid of getting scooped, right? But no one reported on this the next day. Like no one everyone read the reports, got in contact with the ESPN to debunk this essentially. Basically say it's not true, different from debunking. Bad choice of words. But basically to get their ESPN contacts on the line and say, no, this is blissfully untrue. You know? No one came out to sort of go, oh yes, I can confirm this or whatever. You know how the scoops game goes. A lot of times you'll have, let's say, Sean Ross Sapp report a scoop, and then you'll have two other guys going, oh yep, absolutely, this is correct, you know. Like that's how it goes. There was there was nothing on the market for this. No one was even considering this. So this could have been really properly put together, and it was not, right? So bad job with the process of reporting here, because I agree that ESPN should have been contacted for a statement in this regard, and it should have been added to the article. And it probably would have changed the wording of the article as well, because I think one of the problems with the article as well is how definitive it ultimately sounds, right? Like his first paragraph is this: only 1 year into ESPN's 5-year deal to air World Wrestling Entertainment events on its unlimited app, the network won't be renewing the contract when it expires. That's a pretty big statement to throw out there and not have anything to support it or to balance it out at the very least. I think that in fact, I know that the article would have come off much better and probably would not have ignited the shitstorm that it did if it had been presented as speculative. Or, it's like, sources within ESPN's, within ESPN tell me that the network is considering not renewing the contract with WWE when it expires. Something to that effect. Look, I'm not a journalist. I don't write headlines or leads. It's not my specialty. But I think if he had approached this in an entirely different way, it would have been much better accepted. But now it really felt like a fait accompli, It really did come across as something that was just set in stone. You frame it differently, you get the ESPN contact in here, and it doesn't blow up in his face, and he doesn't lose whatever job he had with SCS Scoops. He could have passed this on as there's internal disappointment within ESPN and stuff like that. And like these are all things that could have been done, right? And now the thing is that he said that his source, like he went out publicly to say my sourcing sucked. I did, like, this is what I did, and everyone sort of went, my God, what are you doing calling customer support for a quote on a news report? BJ, what are you doing? Like, this is amateur hour. And he knows better, and I know he knows better. And I like BJ. I like BJ Bethel. Nice guy. And I've supported what he's done in the past. I think he's got some great articles and different sources and whatnot, and it's good. Except for this. This is a strike to his reputation, is what this is. He's going to have to deal with this hit to his reputation for a while. People are not going to trust him. Next time he puts out an article, everyone is going to be scratching their chin going, dubious. Why would we believe you now? Or do we know that this was well put together? Like, his reputation took a hit. So he's going to have to take measures to regain that trust with his audience, with the wrestling, with wrestling fans in general. He's not going to be able to just do this type of situation again. If he does, well, then everyone's going to shrug and completely ignore him. Yeah, everyone is entitled to redemption. Everyone's entitled to a second chance, but you can't fuck up the second chance. And the second chance here is going to take a while. That's the thing. It took him an afternoon to torpedo his reputation. It's going to take him a couple of years to build it back. That's for sure. And to build it back on a story which, by the way, could very well be true. I'm here saying is like, oh, well, we don't, we're not going to believe him moving forward and stuff. Like, the one thing that makes all of this all the more frustrating, I think, is because this story has the potential to be true. Because, we've been observing ESPN for since this partnership with WWE has started, has not shown any real enthusiasm in regards to WWE. Like, we've talked about this multiple times here on stream, on the podcast. We've discussed it. We've been seeing signs that the relationship with ESPN is not all that great. That they're not like sticking their neck out for their partners, or they're not promoting their partners. It's just like it's WWE. What do you want from me? Look, let me get the here it is again. Let's get the Ben Carfado post again, okay? And again, let's remind ourselves. This is a guy who works in communications for ESPN, and I'm going to reread his post here that he put on Twitter, his statement, same statement that he provided, or that was provided. I don't know if it was him directly, but the same statement that was provided to Post Wrestling when they reached out to ESPN. Here it is again, just to refresh your memory. There is no truth to the report that we have decided not to renew. They have never checked with us before publishing, and had they, we would have told them that was completely false. Now, seems perfect enough, right? Seems straightforward, clear. What's missing here? There's something missing. There's something here that you're like, that's like, it's not all that reassuring either, And the thing that's missing is mentioning WWE. It's lending some kind of boilerplate statement to go along with it, something to the effect of, we are very pleased with our relationship, our ongoing relationship with WWE, and are looking forward to working with them until for years to come, type of thing, right? That's what's missing. Some kind of boilerplate statement where they show confidence, nonetheless, in WWE. But they didn't, or he didn't. Ben Carfado didn't. And these things are simple to do. And it's basic PR practice too. If you are satisfied, if your partnership is going along well, you're just going to drop a little line and you're going to say, we have our great partners over at WWE. Yeah, and we're really disappointed that this news came out because we have not decided at this stage if we need to review, and we're having a tremendous we have a tremendous relationship with them. Looking forward to working them for many years still to come. Nothing, not a zilch, nothing. And that goes hand in hand. That goes hand in hand with things that we have observed. Us, me, a dummy, a certified dum-dum. I have noticed these things where ESPN never touts anything from their PR channels about how successful WWE has been on their network, on their channels. When's the last time that happened? It hasn't. We have never heard of them. When they, remember a year ago, we were talking about this a year ago. We were weeks after the launch of ESPN Unlimited and then the WrestlePalooza and all of that, right? And I was sitting here talking with y'all and saying, where's the statement? Where's the social media graphic from ESPN public relations saying, 1 million new subscribers to ESPN Plus or ESPN Unlimited, or something, a 27% rise in subscriptions thanks to WWE. WrestlePalooza was watched for X number of thousands of hours across, so none of that. They never, ever fucking do any of that. You know what? And it's crazy because look, and shout out to Rich Craich who posted this in one of the group chats a couple of days ago. This is ESPN will post about the Little League World Series and how good they're doing ratings wise for them. Look at that. This is what they're going to point out. Look, this is what the tweet says. The 2026 Little League Baseball Region Tournaments delivered largest audience since 2009. And how large? Average viewership, 632,000 viewers. That's a up for 22% year over year. That's great. But they're putting out the graphics on their official channels, their official public relation channels. They are thumping their chests that the average viewership for the Little League World Series has been 632,000 people on average. And WWE gets jack shit. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That's not all. Premier Lacrosse, the Lacrosse League, 27% year over year, most watched PLL regular season ever. The 2026 Premier Lacrosse regular season on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2 was up 27% year over year, marking the most watched season ever. Was most watched. Then they have one of the matches. They've got the logos of two of the teams. I don't know jack shit about Premier Lacrosse, so I don't know who the teams are. But they point out that this one match was the most watched PLL game ever, with 612,000 average viewers on August 2nd, 2026. And WWE gets jack nothing. They never get a peep from their PR. Does that remind you of anything? Folks who have been around for a couple of years, does this remind you? Because it's an exact pattern that happened somewhere else not that long ago. Does it remind you of anything? If you're having trouble, digging deep into your brain and you're like, I don't know what the comparison is, what you're trying to do here. I'll tell you, it's with Fox. Because Fox would do the exact same thing. Completely ignore any successes that WWE has. And as you know, Fox, and this was reported, this was put together later on, Fox was out with WWE. They had made up their minds with WWE in the first year of their deal. They were like, these guys stink. This is not giving us the return we want. Within the first year, they knew they were going to be out on this. This is the same. And may I remind you of that incredible picture that was circulating a while back of the Fox executives, which were all front row right on a SmackDown, and they were all bewildered, didn't understand exactly what was going on, just sitting there going, none of them really excited or smiling. They were just like, all right, you know, whatever this is, right? They knew from the get-go that it was a bad deal, and ESPN is finding this out too. ESPN is look, I'm stating as if it's a fait accompli, but it's not necessarily the case, but all the signs are there. All the signs are there. They're the only time that you hear anything related between WWE and ESPN is when WWE arranges for journalists to be fired because they give a C grade to a pay-per-view. It was like, oh no, we got to remove the C grades, right? Can you imagine how fucking insufferable, like how fucking insufferable it must be where you're trying to run your thing on the side and then you have these guys coming in, talking loud, you know, and puffing their chests out and go, you know, you're a journalist, this Andreas guy. You know, I think you should take him off the beat. You know, get him off of our pay-per-views. Stop him letting him review our shit. It's preposterous, right? Oh, you know, we're not going to fire him. You know, maybe we could just ask him not to grade it anymore. Fine. But then they eventually get him fired. So you see what I'm getting at is that we've seen the pattern with WWE and a media partner in the past, Fox, right? We've seen how that has how that soured up and how they ended up homeless, you know, no deal at the end, and then they moved on to ESPN, and ESPN's like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing here? So the frustrating part from BJ fumbling his reporting here is that the report probably is true. Like there is an observable amount of public disinterest from ESPN to fuel speculation in that direction, like we've been doing tonight. And there's probably some truth to his report. You know, I didn't talk to his sources. I don't know what they said exactly. Did they in fact say, no, we've decided, like, the decision's already been taken, we're not renewing next year? Like, I don't know. Like, or was it a conversation more along the lines of, you know, everyone I talked to is pretty much fed up with WWE, and I don't think it's going to be, I feel like it's not going to be renewed next year. Again, I don't know. I don't know what the exact words that were exchanged. But the frustrating part, like I said, is that it is a plausible story with what is absolutely observable out there right now. It is 100% a plausible story, and now was just kicked in the balls because BJ dropped the ball on it. Now, everyone's saying, let's see in 4 years when the deal is up, and we'll see if BJ was right or not. Sure, but in the meantime, like, all this reporting is going to be a lot more difficult to get done. It's very, very difficult, right? And look, ultimately, I think, you know, I think SC Scoops did the right thing. SC Scoops absolutely did the right thing, and they did it in spectacularly clear fashion. They're like, nope, we can't stand for this. We published it, and the buck stops with us, right? And we fucked up, and this journalist, we're no longer going to be working with him, and we revised our processes, and it's not going to happen again. And that's the best thing they could do. They have to save face here. People are saying, like, I've seen all sorts of people saying, well, why aren't people going after SC Scoops more? SC Scoops at first said, we're standing by the story, right? At the end of the article, they did an update later on in the day saying, quote, very, very clearly, you know, updating with the Ben Carfado tweet and saying SC Scoops, I was going to say SCS Scoops, SC Scoops stands by its story. So even at the end of the day, they were 100% behind it. But then they decided to, look, I don't know what happened, but they took the decision to shutter the article and cut ties with Bethel, probably after BJ admitted that he was calling customer support to get a PR statement, which is baffling how junior hour that is. It's bonkers to me. He admitted it. So, again, to come back to the initial statement, why aren't people going after SC Scoops as hard? SC Scoops did everything right in this circumstance. They fucked up. They acknowledged it. We changed our processes. This isn't going to happen again. And the guy that did this, we're done with him. And then I started seeing the wildest shit. Then it's like, oh, I can't believe TKO got him fired. I'm like, look, maybe someone from WWE gave SC Scoops a call, or it could have been. It could be a bunch of things, quite frankly. Goes up to the owner. The owner says, "What is this fucking bullshit?" And they shut it down. We don't want this. We don't need this kind of reporting, and they don't. This was shoddy, bad reporting from BJ, and it pains me to say, but it is. It was bad. It's bad reporting. And the statement that he put out, the report that he put out ultimately is stained by this. So they did exactly what they needed to do. And people trying to martyr BJ as being a guy who got fired because of TKO. No, this is different from Andreas Hale. I know what people are trying to do, but this is different from Andreas Hale, who was doing his job like he always did it, with the same with the same opinions, same approach, same vision, the grades and all that. And he got slapped, he got his knuckles wrapped because of what he was doing, because it upset WWE. What BJ did was shoddy reporting. So of course the publication's going to go, no, we can't endorse this. And look, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Were there other issues, or was this the last straw? Maybe. Or was this just like severe enough for him to get immediately ejected? I don't know, but like, there's no martyrdom to have here. BJ wrote a bad article. He put together a bad report, and his publication went, this is not up to our standards, and this fucking sucks, and we shouldn't have published it in the first place. And that's good. That's good. So they retracted it. They took responsibility for publishing it. And like, we're not doing this again ever. I don't know. And I see chat pointing it out here, and I was just about to make a mention of it. And I was gonna wrap this up by saying, but you know what, folks? Besides, with the way the media landscape works these days, in the United States of America. The ESPN Plus app might not even be around in 4 years. Maybe all of this, all of this discussion here might all be for moot, because there's a fair chance that this app just might not continue to exist. Remember its launch, it was a terrible launch, and they're saying themselves, even in the sources in BJ's report, nonetheless, we're talking about how everything was underperforming to expectations, of course, because a lot of the carriers didn't pony up the cash to supply the app to their subscribers, which is what, and if you recall last year, the biggest cable distributors in the United States and YouTube TV as well, they weren't carrying the ESPN Plus app, and I believe that some of them still don't. I think Xfinity, that's Comcast, right? I think I could be wrong here, but I feel like I remember them eventually getting the deal done. I think it's available for YouTube TV viewers as well. But don't forget that aspect either. This app, this ESPN Plus app, was expedited out the door. That was pushed out the door, not ready, poorly communicated, like a complete mess at launch. A terrific mess at launch where people didn't know if they had access to it in their existing ESPN subscription, whether it was because the communication wasn't clear or whether their provider wasn't providing it or not. Like, it was just a fucking disaster. This app has been a disaster. And it could be, in a couple of years, ESPN goes, let's pull the plug. Disney goes, nope, this is not working out. Or here's another scenario. Disney gets bought out or sells ESPN, and whoever picks up ESPN is like, fuck this app. So that's the note we're ending it on. In 4 years from now, there's a chance this application just might not be around. And maybe all of this was for nothing. But always keep this in mind. Here's the real finish. I'm like an Elden Ring boss. You think you finish the first form, now here comes the second form. Here's the real finish. Here's the real final thought. There's going to be another sucker who's going to get into a relationship with WWE. There's just going to be someone else after this is done who's going to be like, oh, WWE, oh, they had problems at Fox, they had problems at ESPN. I can fix them. I can fix her. We'll take care of them. I'm thinking Paramount Plus. There you go. Let's take a look here at all the good stuff here. The app is such a shitty idea. Who wants to use an app that you can block ads from in order to pay more for WWE content? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I bet in 1 year's time, everything in Bethel's report will be proven true. Like, that's the thing, is that the report was bad and got backlash and his reputation took a hit. But everything is plausible for all the reasons we just went over. So yes. Yes. This whole thing just seems so weird. Why not hold it to do his due diligence? Brother, I wish I knew. Like, I don't know what the rush was to put this out. I really don't. I have a theory that Bethel's main source, who he owed a favor to, had begged to be taken out of the article. Could be. I have no doubt that this. Okay, maybe that one's a little too contextual. Even if ESPN is 100% going to drop WWE as soon as they can, they have a fiscal duty to lie publicly about that. Yeah, like that's why, when I was saying, everyone reaching out to the people in ESPN are going, no, this is false, this is false, this is false. They're not going to straight up admit to their shareholders that, yeah, we did a really bad deal a year ago, and we still have 4 years to go, but we want you to know this was a bad deal. Like, that's just insane. You don't do that. I know BJ the tiniest bit, very small. I have no doubt he spoke to people on ESPN that gave him this. He doubled down on this on a podcast Tuesday night. My gripe is he seemed to rush this and be sloppy about it. Why did he rush this? That's what I don't get. I'm with you, Convoy. I also don't understand why he spoke so definitively in the article. Should have been couched differently instead of the rush. Complete agreement. It's possible he pitched it in SC Sports. I almost did it again. SC Sports published it before he had a chance to follow up so they wouldn't get scooped. And then they threw him under the bus. That I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think this was an editorial call. ESPN 8 is doing big business. The Ocho. There's also an interesting point BJ made elsewhere. ESPN Unlimited may as well be gone for 4 years. Yeah, sorry. That was the thing that I did end up talking about. Headless Ape from Sekiro. Sekiro, excuse me. Yeah. I've seen so many people play that boss. I was like, this is a game I cannot play. But that Headless Ape boss is tremendous. Like, it's really a great reveal, It's really a great reveal when you beat him and he gets back up and he's swinging his head in one hand, and it's just tremendous. Or they might just go to USA Network again. They could. It's the only NBC Universal is the only place that they haven't burned any bridges except for that one time, like about 20 years ago. The Fed is running out of big ticket networks to take a bath on them. Oh, Paramount's still right around the corner. And they're all birds of a feather over there. Cue them making their own network again. That'd be great, honestly. It'd be really funny. It would be really funny. Dear shareholders, we made an oopsie. Yeah, pretty much, right? That'll look great on the quarterly report. Anyway, thank you everyone for hanging around, for being here. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Hope you're enjoying life, because we're about to get into it now. All In London 2026. It is happening this weekend, August the 30th, Sunday over there. I don't know if you've heard, it's in Wembley Stadium. It's in Wembley Stadium, and a lot of people are excited about the show, and a lot of people are looking forward to the show and not excited. And there's a lot of people who are also just like, yeah, I'll watch it later. It's a really weird one. Let's see about, I forgot to get this ready. You'd think I'd be ready to do this stuff by now, but no, turns out I'm not. Let me take a look here at where we're at for tickets distributed in Wembley. Where are we at right now? We've got no, that's all out. When's the last report? When's the last one in? When's the last all in report? Did we get one today? Oh, here we go. Currently, WrestleTix has it at 43,585 tickets. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. That's going to be a lot of people there in London to watch this show. Tony Khan did his media call earlier today. I think he said that the gate is already at 6 million. I think is what he said. That's huge. That's a tremendous amount of money for a professional wrestling show. I don't know if people really fully grasp that. In fact, I know a lot of people do not fully grasp that. And look, we're not going to spend our time breaking all of this down because it's useless, and my audience is smarter than all of this. All of you wonderful people watching, listening, you already understand all of this, that All In is a success, whether they have 40,000, 45, 50, 60, 70, whether they did 83,000 that one year and now they can't break 50. It's a success. This is a successful wrestling promotion. This is a legitimate number 2 promotion in the land. They're going to have, this gate is going to be one of the biggest gates, not, in North America, not in Europe wrestling history or one of the biggest gates outside of WWE. No, this is going to be one of the biggest gates in pro wrestling, period. Historically speaking. And that's a mark of success. And I don't care if they're not beating WWE, that they're not drawing more people than WWE, this is a success. This is what a healthy wrestling ecosystem looks like. You've got you've got the market leader, and then you've got a tremendous setup for a number 2 who is bringing in 45,000 people into a stadium to watch its product. Like I can't stand I can't stand any more discussion around how AEW is failing. They're unable to that they're failing, that they're a distant number 2, and that TNA is going to catch up on them. It's like, this is all fucking bullshit. The day TNA can put 45,000 people into a stadium is the day I'll start eating crow. But until then, I'll eat something else, or else I'll go hungry. Hey, William Davis, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, and they doubled Texas from last year. Good point, chat. And somehow we're going to sit around and go, well, not us, but there's people that are going to go there, sit around and go, maybe not all that great. I don't know. AEW seems to be in trouble. Jesus fucking Christ. And not just that. Oh, they're not successful because they're not better than WWE. It's such a pile of nonsense. Anyway, I've already said too much, as Michael Stipe once told us. So yeah, it's happening this weekend. The main card starts at 6 p.m. In the UK, British Standard Time. That'll be, I wrote 1 a.m., but it's 1 p.m. Why did I write a.m.? It's 1 p.m. That's a big boo-boo right there. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific here. And that's for the main show. The pre-show is going to start at 11. And I believe locally, they said that the pre-show is going to start at 4:30 p.m. So to me, that means that the matches are going to start around are going to start around 11:30 a.m. As opposed to anything earlier than that. They'll probably be doing the talking head stuff around 11 Eastern and then lead into the rest. It's fine. Anyway, you all understand what I'm trying to say here. So that's how it's all going to go. So yeah. For those of us here in the Americas, don't forget it is a day pay-per-view because it's all the way because of jolly old England not being on the same time space continuum. The show itself has been rather controversial, hasn't it? as far as the build goes, I think that's fair to say, right? That it's been a little controversial. People are kind of wondering, what exactly, the people are kind of wondering. There's a lot of discussion going around in regards to the show. Am I excited for the show? Is this a good show? Is it going to be great? Is it, has the build, how has the build been? Is the build any good? So on and so forth, right? And, I have my own reservations in regards to the build. I really do. I have my own reservations, and there's a lot of stuff that I think is that was built very hastily. I don't think that everything on this card has been put together solidly, if that makes sense. I've expressed multiple times on the Dynamite reviews that the main event has been a little scattered, didn't have quite the good focus, the focus that I was kind of hoping for. I don't know. It's I can understand people who look at the card and say it's not exciting me. I think objectively you can look at the card and say this has some good stuff on it, but I don't particularly think that AEW did an especially good job building this pay-per-view this year. Whereas I suppose last year I felt had a lot more excitement, trepidation amongst certain fans as well. I thought this because I think the story of Hangman Page last year was much more grounded. It was focused. It told exactly the right story that it needed to say, that it needed to tell, and had a terrific payoff in the end. That was all covered in self-doubt and anxiety, as Hangman is, and as his fans are as well. This year, I think that they did Will Ospreay a disservice with how the whole build was put together. Well, why don't we start talking about it, right? We'll start with the main event, since I'm already getting into the Will Ospreay stuff. Will Ospreay challenging Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. So as I was saying, I think I thought that from the get-go, it was interesting. The story they were trying to tell at first was interesting. And I don't know if you recall this, but essentially it was Will is rushing himself post-surgery to come wrestle because he wants to be world champion this year. He wants to win the Owen Hart tournament, and he wants to win the title, right? But it's not turning out the way he thought it would be. He's overexerting himself in the ring. He's not quite there. And then what happens is that his nemesis, Jon Moxley, takes him under his wing and essentially tells him, we're going to forge you. We're going to make sure that you're ready for this big spot. and Mox has been boosting him since then. It's like, this is your big spot. This is for you to take. The real work is going to begin once you win the Owen Hart Cup. He was really establishing for Will the idea that we will be moving forward here as your trainers to put you through all of this. And then it became something close to Will looking for an edge, looking for something, a little aggression, something that'll put him over the top, right? Which I always found was kind of weird and silly when you consider that Will's finisher is, decapitating a guy from the back of his head, with a running violent forearm to the skull. This is a guy who would pick up MJF into the Tiger Driver 91 or 96 or 92. I don't remember which one it was, but he picks up MJF to do it with glee, despite the fact that this was established as an extremely dangerous move. So I can't see him hesitating to use any of these strong moves on Kenny Omega. And I'm hoping we don't have to go down that path. I hope Will is going to be cognizant enough to go, I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy, because if I don't, I'm going to lose this once in a lifetime opportunity here to win this championship in front of 45,000 plus people, countrymen, And the Death Riders in this, for right up until, what was it, after Redemption, right? Right up until Redemption was done, you had the Death Riders going around and adding levels to this watch that I thought were unnecessary. I was like, no, we gotta focus on Kenny. Focus on Kenny. That, never mind the Death Riders. Never mind bringing this around. They should have been excluded a while back. They even brought in the Don Callis family to sort of add some sand into the cog here, because all they wanted to do was to set up 2 matches the next week on Dynamite. And since no match has happened on Dynamite without having some kind of story, well, they did a story the week before to justify 2 throwaway matches on Dynamite instead of focusing on Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay and their feud. And it's been all over the place. And I think this has ultimately done Will a disservice, where Will is in this position where he places himself as where we're supposed to try and buy him as some kind of underdog. But this is Will Ospreay, who just so happens to be one of the greatest pro wrestlers on earth. He will very likely go down in history as one of the greatest to ever do it. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying him as an underdog. No matter how much he goes all, wide-eyed and talks about how when he was a kid, he wanted to win the soccer cup, whatever, in Wembley Stadium when he was a child, and now he's living his lifelong dream. It's all good fodder, but it's not stuff that makes me believe that, gee willikers, I wonder if Will Ospreay is going to do it, especially in a context, folks, where this is all a work and that everything points to Will Ospreay winning the title, that where this is the most likely outcome. I hope no one is betting on Will Ospreay losing here. I mean, if you are, you're going to make a fucking mint, and this is not betting advice. This is all for entertainment purposes, of course. But this is all a work, right? We all assume that we know what the finish is going to be. We all see it coming. So that also takes out some of the drama. So what have you got left? Well, you've got the build. You have the build between these two guys here together going at it. And all you can really hope for is that they bring the heat and the hate. Just like MJF told us a couple of years ago when he came back from injury, says, I'm done with the nonsense, the schmoozing, the being a nice guy. I'm coming here with, what did he say? Hate, 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 right? And that's what fuels the best professional wrestling feuds, angles. It's the hate, it's the heat. And this is what this feud has struggled with. It's struggled to bring this encounter to another level. They did an excellent first promo once Kenny won the title the week after. That in-ring promo that they hit was absolutely phenomenal. Last week when Kenny decided that he had enough of Will Ospreay and started being super passive-aggressive with him and then got physically aggressive with him after the match, I was like, this fucking rules. All right, this is good. Now, showed up on Dynamite last night. Just, Will Ospreay all by himself. There was no Kenny Omega, which is preposterous. Absolutely fucking preposterous. I don't know how you do that. Just as a parenthesis, I don't know how you have the go-home show to your biggest show of the year, starring two of the biggest wrestlers on planet Earth. One of them is your world champion, and he doesn't show up to the go-home. That blows my mind. I know all the excuses, by the way. I talked about it on the review today. I know all of the excuses. He was with the doctor, Warren, he's keeping his body in shape. He had appointments, he had training, and all that. He being Kenny, of course. I understand all of that. And I have a tendency to be sympathetic towards that because I much prefer Kenny to come in all limber and in the best possible shape as he can to get in the ring and deliver one of the greatest matches of all time, which is what these guys will be striving to hit between you and me. But despite me understanding all that, it's still preposterous that the champ for the biggest show of the year was not on the go-home show to send us off. It's still preposterous. Both things can be true. I can understand why they did it, but it ends up being ridiculous that they did do it. And that's the thing. So, we're missing all of this heat to really, because that's what we were missing, because this is essentially what's driving this feud, because the finish seems absolutely fucking clear. 100% clear. So all you got then is the build to the fucking match. Get us excited for that, because we know who's walking out of Wembley with the title. You couldn't spell it out any better than what it is, right? And look, I know the match in and about itself is fine. The match itself is the best possible scenario for AEW. This was and is a drawing match, and we have proof of that. We have proof that Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega was a drawing match. Kenny Omega has no issues drawing houses. We've known that for a while. Will Ospreay here, the minute that he won the Owen Hart Cup, there was an uptick in sales. When Kenny Omega won the title, there was an uptick in sales, and it has been continuing on a very high level since. Why? Because it's Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. As I've said ad nauseum, two of the greatest pro wrestlers on earth right now that are going to fight for the biggest stakes in AEW and probably, quite possibly, have their last high-level match against each other ever. It is entirely possible that this is the last high-level match that Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay will ever have. So yes, this absolutely draws all by itself. Yes, we don't need we don't need a necessarily exciting build because the match is the excitement. The match is the draw, regardless what they do in the ring. So all of my own complaining sort of becomes moot when you realize that these guys have, on their own, have put in what, like 11,000, 10,000 tickets that they just between the both of them, the minute that they were announced for the main event. Does that sound right? 12,000 tickets all by themselves. This match moved 12,000 tickets or so. 11, 10. I'm not sure what the amount is. And that's wild. So what am I sitting here complaining about? What am I sitting here saying? Well, because it just so happens that in the week-to-week show, I tune in to watch 2 hours of Dynamite and I expect to be entertained. Is that crazy, right? Isn't that wild? And I expect the biggest story of the company to be compelling and make me want to tune in and watch some more. Because there's no denying that this match is a draw, and it's been a success. It's been a success for Tony Khan. This was the best match that he could possibly book. You remember we were talking about it a few months ago. We were saying, is Kenny the right opponent? Shouldn't it be me? What if it's MJF? What if it's MJF and Will Ospreay? That could also rock, right? And this was the right opponent. This was absolutely the right thing to do. So, we'll see. Here's the thing. When it comes to the match itself, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Like I mentioned, these two guys, their target, these two gentlemen right here, that you see on your screen for those of you with the benefit of video. These two gentlemen right here, their self-imposed objective is to have one of the greatest matches of all time. That I am 100% convinced, because both of these guys are that level of sicko, and both of those guys, they live and breathe on the same level of pro wrestling. And the thing that might get to me, that might annoy me, that might be problematic, is if the story starts becoming too involved, and then suddenly Moxley and the Death Riders get involved, or Don Callis and his boys get involved. I am not into that. And I hope anyone with any sway in AEW is listening to this and just heeds my words. If you want this to be successful and be a top tier match, you have to leave these two guys go out there and do what they do best. And you got to curb all of their penchants for drama and melodrama and shit like that in the ring, especially Will. You gotta rein those back and let this be a one-on-one match. And then when it's done, you can do whatever the fuck you want with the Death Riders. You can have, you can do what you want with fucking Don Callis. It doesn't, after it's done, I don't give a shit. But from bell to bell, I pray that this match is just, that it's just these two guys. That we don't need stipulations saying everyone barred from ringside to have a match where no one shows up. That these things are still possible in North American wrestling. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, look, all this talk of the build might be all for moot. I might be sitting down here on Sunday recording this review and jumping up and down and telling you this is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And that's what I'm hoping for. Legitimately, that's what I'm hoping for. So that I can sit down and go, why do I even bother talking about builds? You know? Well, who cares about the builds, right? Anyway. So, do you want an official prediction? Kenny Omega loses. There you go. Will Ospreay finally wins the big one in his hometown, and everyone goes home happy before curfew kicks in. Oh, please, no more William being conflicted on how amazing he is as a wrestler with his potent maneuvers that are really hurting people. Yeah, I know. I know. This is the usual Kenny Omega big match disappearing act. We've had this same conversation a couple of times. This is also true. The goal should have been working towards a WrestleMania X7 Austin Rock My Way or the Highway style hype video. I liked the hype video that they did yesterday. I thought it was very good. It was one of the top things of the show last night. For me, a good build is a lot of juice. Oh, you know, when they're juiceless, right? Next, let's keep this ball rolling here. Willow Nightingale will be defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Mercedes Moné, who got this, who secured this title shot by winning the Owens Cup, the Owen Hart Cup tournament just a couple of months ago. Straight up, I've enjoyed this build tremendously. I have enjoyed the build to this match much more than the men's world title, unequivocally, you know. And even if on a couple of occasions, well, one specific occasion where I feel it kind of dipped, it didn't dip enough for me to go, well, you know, no, like this one has the hate and the heat where you've got Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné then in pull apart brawls on Dynamite, trying to, you know, security trying to keep them apart and they can't. You've got these kick-ass promos that they're cutting on each other. You feel how nasty this is going to be. And look at how simple this all has been. All it's been is about Mercedes Moné being upset that at every turn, every big milestone in her career, Willow Nightingale is somehow involved in all of these moments. You know, that losing the women's strong championship because, you know, she got legitimately injured, because you know, and then Willow being the gatekeeper, her coming into AEW and then losing the TBS title to Willow, establishing basically Mercedes, who has been on a rampage since coming back, losing all the titles, going away, then coming back, and she's like, no more nonsense. I'm kicking ass. I am pissed off at everyone. Like, she doesn't do the dance anymore. She hasn't been doing the dopey CEO dance. She's been coming out like she's been nasty. And she's been coming after Willow big time. And Willow has been great. Like, the perfect kind of energy to counteract Mercedes here. This has been a phenomenal build. This has been a phenomenal build. And a match that I'm legitimately looking forward to. I'm very excited to see how aggressive this is going to get. Particularly, and I don't know how aggressive it's going to get, because I'm sure you've all seen the reports by now that Willow Nightingale allegedly or reportedly has a broken hand. She injured, was reported last night from Brian Alvarez, reported that yesterday. And Tony Khan today on his media call straight out said she's got a broken hand, but she will be wrestling, but she has a broken hand, but she will be wrestling this weekend, but she has a broken hand. And he said, you know, things had to be switched around. We couldn't do exactly what we had planned. So the injury happened to explain the angle last night, right? I don't think it's a work. I don't think this is a work. Just like, unlike Nigel, which I am 100% convinced now is a work. He never really got injured. Now I'm more the like I may have been like at 85, 90% just giving enough doubt. Now there's no doubt in my mind he's completely there's no shattered ankle. He's fine. Yeah, no, but with Willow in this circumstance, she's been it sucks. It sucks that she hurt herself. Because this will have an imprint on the match. But then at the same time, these are two of AEW's best wrestlers. These are two of the best wrestlers in the world right now. One of them is the best North American female wrestler of all time. So they're going to be fine. And they're going to come up with something that is going to be really, really cool. I'm convinced. And we're here talking about how Will and Kenny are going to have an all-timer. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to get an all-timer out of this one too. Listen, if Mercedes Moné can do what she did at Forbidden Door and drag a green as grass, nervous as fuck, anxiety-riddled opponent who is losing her mind because on top of all the stress that went with the match, you know, all of her gear is falling apart. If she could draw her out to a serviceable match in those types of circumstances, I have complete and utter faith in this wrestler. I have complete and utter faith in Mercedes Moné. 100%. I'm very much looking forward to this match. I think this is the match I'm most looking forward to. And I hope they kick all sorts of ass. And everyone in retrospect goes, you know what? This whole build was really, really fucking good. I'm very much looking forward to this match. High expectations for this match. Mercedes wins, by the way. I mean, that was my prediction regardless. But especially considering that Willow has hurt her hand, you know, that she's injured, 100% she's dropping the title. You know what I'm not hoping for? This is what I'm not hoping for. Not hoping that the injury to Willow is substantive and they have to pull a Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter. Remember that? Where they have to end the match quickly because of the injury. You know what I mean? I hope that's not the situation. And I hope the hand is not in so bad a spot that it hampers the match either. Because that can also happen. It's an injury. It's a legit injury. Anyway, Mercedes wins. Moving on. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland will be defending the AEW World Tag Team Championship against the Young Bucks. Yeah, sure. Yeah, like, you know, you've pretty much all pictured in your mind how this match is going to go. You know, and put the titles on the Bucks. I think it's absolutely fine. I think I think reasonably that's what you should do. Especially if we're getting, you know, FKA, the New Day coming in, and they're going to be, you know, they're going to be leaning towards the heel side. That's the match that you want to build up to. The titles, the Bucks, the New Day, sure. I mean, what does Christian Cage, what more do they have to do at this point? I think the nostalgia feel-good moments are done. I think, you know, they had a nice, nifty little run. You know what I mean? You know what I'm hoping out of all of this? You know what my biggest hope is that Christian Cage turns on Adam Copeland at the end of the match. That you know, he's been putting up, you know, Christian has been dropping massive hints. You know, he's been going around basically saying, you know, what does he say? I don't associate with people who are under me. What was his exact quote? Stuff like that, you know. Like he's sick and tired of Edge's bullshit. That's essentially what he's saying. He doesn't give a shit about the Jacksons, and he's going to get to a point where he won't give a shit about Adam Copeland again. I miss patriarchy Christian Cage at this point. I think the little back and forth with good cop, bad cop in this tag team, the clashing personalities. I think it worked out better than I ever thought it would. Honestly. Like, I thought they did a tremendous job here because Christian never compromised. He never compromised and started, shaking hands with the Bucks and becoming smiley and whatnot. No, he always stayed the same asshole throughout. We just started to cheer him by association because of what was going on. Because it was like, this is fun, right? And we got to bring Christian Cage back to the patriarchy, or another group or whatever. I want him cutting these scathing promos again. That's what I miss, where he says once in a while, and not all the time, but once in a while, he just says something completely out of pocket and has us all going, what did he just say? I'd be very, very excited for that. Get rid of the dead weight Christian. You've never needed him, and you don't need him now. He needs you more than you need him. It's a tragedy if the Bucks don't win. I agree. The Bucks win. That's my prediction. AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship will also be on the line, with the Divine Dominion taking on the Brawling Birds. This will be fun. I'm assuming. I would have. I like the Divine Dominion. I like them. I think they're a good tag team. They work well. Two big, towering behemoths. It's tremendous, right? But I would have thought that AEW would have built up the Brawling Birds more than this. Like, who have they ever beaten? But for real, it's like there's, and these are two good wrestlers, and I love Jamie Hayter on top of that. So yeah, I'm like, if anything, I'm wondering, why didn't they push them harder? Why aren't we going harder on the Brawling Birds? Why are we just at this level here when we could have been really much fucking higher? It's curious to me. I feel like they could have really pushed them harder than they did. Wasn't Jamie injured for a little while, right? That was probably something that caused an issue, but you pivot from that. You're like, okay, let's have you fight the other tag teams. Let's bring in tag teams from let's have you do local enhancement, all that stuff. And have you noticed that they're a little more, they're dialing it back a little bit? The over exuberant, we're drunk and we like to beat people up attitude. They're just dialing it back a little bit, just a little bit. That was one of my concerns, my complaints. It's like, it's a little cringe. I'm not, it's making me uncomfortable. Like, not because I don't think a couple of gals can go out drinking and beat up some dudes. I am 100% for that. It's just the way that the energy came across was off. And if it were two guys doing the same thing, I'd probably feel the same as well. It's not even that. I like the idea of the Brawling Birds is terrific, and I love it. And these two are very credible, and they don't have to go as hard as they do to make it credible. If all that makes sense. I think the Birds win. Make the hometown crowd happy. I mean, what's left to do for the Divine Dominion? No, it's just a good opportunity. It's the perfect time to just get the belts off of Bane and Cross, and have the Brawling Birds go after other people. It's fine. We've done everything we could with the Divine Dominion at this point, I think. I'm low-key impressed how the Brawling Birds were introduced. We all know that this was, and we all knew what this was, and Tony just committed to killing time until August 30th. AEW International Championship three-way match. The champ, Kyle Fletcher, will be taking on Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada. As all of you know by now, and if you don't, you're about to find out, I am not a fan of three-way. I am not a fan of three-way matches for titles. Build a challenger. Build one challenger. Have him get in the ring. Fight for the belt. We don't need all of this stuff. We don't need the underhanded stip that everything is legal. You know, perfectly legal call all throughout a three-way match. We don't need all of this. We really don't. I hate it, actually. But then you cannot deny the amount of talent that's going to be in the ring at the same time. Like, I mean, you know, like it's undeniable the amount of talent that's going to be in the ring at once. So why wouldn't we? Why should my expectations be anything else? Like, okay, this will probably be awesome. You know, I mean, you know, despite my inherent dislike of three ways for titles, I look at this and I'm like, this has the potential to rock and roll. But I also think that they're treading. They could potentially tread on some very annoying soil here if Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada start leaning in too much into the Don Callis family stuff. You know, that has that potential. But here are the outcomes that I want from this. These are the outcomes that I want from this, legitimately. I want Takeshita to get his belt back. I want him to become international champion again. I want Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada to fight each other in a singles match. I want them to have a nice little program. I want Kyle Fletcher to move on and win the Continental Classic. And I want Kazuchika Okada to be a top guy in this fucking company. And I want him to stop being I want him to stop being a clown and be the fucking Rainmaker again. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want. Give it to me. Those are the results I'm looking for. So we're going to start by having Takeshita win the match. Then Okada and Kyle Fletcher can have a little one-off, leading us into Full Gear. No, post Full Gear. When the C2 starts and Kyle Fletcher gets in there and he goes all the way and he beats Mox in the finals. That would fucking slap. And then Okada fucking wrestles for the AEW World Championship. Let's cut the shit out now. Then we have the finals of the Continental Challenge Cup. Continental Cup Challenge. What was it again? Jon Moxley taking on Nigel McGuinness. I mean, you know, this was the ultimate. This was the most predictable finish to this tournament. They went with it. I mean, it was absolutely. It was written in the stars when Nigel was thrown into this. Oh, okay, he's going to be in the finals and probably Mox, and there we go. And they even went as far as to create a story where Nigel hurt his ankle early in the tournament. And then in the meantime, Mox people have been working over his shoulder. So they're both going to come in with a banged up limb. And the other guy will be able to use. That's the story that we're telling here. Yes, I 100% believe that Nigel's injury is a work. I mentioned it, but I just want to bring it up now again because it's the best plausible scenario here to talk about it. Nigel absolutely his injury is absolutely legit. It's not a work. You know, and my spidey senses were tingling when, you know, in that same episode of Collision, it was Collision, right? Yeah, it was Collision, where Tony Schiavone was on the microphone at the end saying, "Oh, we just got word that Nigel McGuinness got injured earlier in the evening. We'll keep you posted." I'm like, fuck off. All right. They wouldn't do that if he was legitimately injured. They wouldn't do that if he was really, really hurt. That's not how they would have dealt with it. Anyway, this should be fun. This should be a good match. We'll have to see with Nigel. You know, I don't have the nostalgia that a lot of people do have in regards to Nigel McGuinness, but at the same time, I'm not sitting here with my hands on my hips going, "What the fuck? What is this?" You know, doing Tim Robinson bits. I don't understand anything. You know, what is he doing here? I don't know what this guy is doing here. But I also don't, I recognize that Nigel is at a very different stage than he was at the prime of his career. He can still manage. He can still go. Don't get me wrong. Can he go on a really high level? Can he do something great with Jon Moxley, who was a tremendous wrestler and was having a fantastic year? Can we go that high? Can we hit those highs with Nigel? I don't have much to go about here. And I kind of think that I kind of feel that the Continental Challenge Cup, Continental Challenge Cup, the C3, it's sort of petered out, right? Maybe not the greatest tournament that we've seen this year. Maybe. I mean, I think there's been a couple of really great matches, a couple of excellent matches in here, but overall it was like, yeah, you know, it's fine. It's fine. Should they do it again next year? Yeah. Yes. Should they do it, you know, all the way stuck up to, a couple of months before the C3? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I like the idea of it. Look, I'm always, you tried it out. This is what happened. I'm all for them bringing it back next year, tweaking the format a little bit, when exactly the tournament takes place, the participants, I think as well is something. I like the idea of the blind draws, but then you have to make the blind draws feel real. There's stuff here that I think there's a great nugget of a concept. The execution this year was not great, but it was a first time. You know, remember the C3 on the first year, it wasn't all winners up and down. Remember that three-way that we got for the block finals? I sure do. Get a tournament and we get three ways. Ugh. Anyway, Mox retains. Or retains. He wins the tournament, wins the cup, hangs on to his belt. He's not losing it before the C3. Kevin Knight versus Darby Allin for the TNT title. It's going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. It's going to be nuts. It's just going to be bonkers. It's going to be Darby throwing himself and launching himself into shit everywhere, and Kevin Knight is going to be happy to oblige. I mean, very simple analysis here. I don't know what else to add. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be an intensely entertaining, fun match. As Kevin Knight continues his ascension, he's not dropping this title here. He's not dropping his title to Darby. We're going to continue growing Kevin Knight here. What a revelation. What a year he has Had to. What a revelation. Breakthrough year. Good for him. Men's Casino Gauntlet match. Confirmed number 1 spot. Andrade El Idolo, current national champion. MJF confirmed that the number 2 spot. Also participating. Tommaso Ciampa, Mark Davis, and Jericho. You could probably also throw in Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Commander. You know, all the people who are going to be on Collision this week in that trios match that Jericho Ubered. That's going to be, those are going to be a few people in there that are going to be, there's a few people that are going to be added in there. It's a great spot to bring in some surprise entrants, right? You know, I don't know if he has his 90 days or not. I haven't heard that he has his 90 days, but you know, could be a nice, you know, we're in Europe and everything on top of that. Could be a nice moment to start off Ilya Dragunov, right? If we add him to the mix. These things work when you have legitimate surprises, right? This has been an issue with these casino gauntlets moving forward since the original one is the element of surprise, right? So you have 1, maybe 2 people showing up, coming out of nowhere. Like, holy shit. Okay, this adds a little more prestige, a little more interest. People get excited. Like, okay, this could be a lot of fun here. This has the potential to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, just to see what's going to go on. You know, last year, the men's gauntlet wasn't all that great, at least not in the building. It's kind of dull. And I haven't been a fan of the casino gauntlet matches of recent conjectures. No, but I haven't been a fan. Will they re-crack the formula? Will they find a way to make it better? Will they find a way to make it exciting again? We'll see. But ultimately, like, this has all been about Andrade and MJF. And I don't know why we just didn't go ahead and I don't know why we just didn't go ahead and have these guys have a one-on-one. I don't know why. Anyway, 2nd year in a row that MJF is on All In a gauntlet match. 2nd year in a row he wins. Sure, why not? I don't think it's going to be Mark Davis. And then on the pre-show, I think at this stage we only have 1 pre-show match announced. Let me take a look. Let me make very, very sure. Give that the old refresh here. Yeah. Still only 1 pre-show match, and that might be all we need, because on the pre-show, we are going to have an AEW World Trios Roulette Royale match for the Trios Championship. Champions Hangman Page and Brodito will be taking on 6 other Trios, 6 other Trios teams. Confirmed being the Bang Bang Gang, which is going to be made out of Jay White and the Guns, the conglomeration trio of Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong, the Death Riders, made up of Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta, the Demand, Ricochet, of course, Bishop Khan, and Toa Liona, and the Dogs, David Finlay, Clark Connors, Gabe Kidd, and a wild card team, which, of course, everyone is expecting to be Swerve Strickland, accompanied by FKA The New Day. I mean, look, Tony Khan said it himself today on the on the media call. He said that the match was going to start on the pre-show, and look, if it spills over into the start of the main card, that's what it's going to do. So I think everyone sees the same vision. I think we're all on the same level. We're going to have FK, the New Day, show up, make their entrance towards the ring just as the buy-in is ending. And if you're going to want to see them wrestle, you're going to have to buy the show. And that's dirty business, and I fucking love it. That's what I do. In fact, look, what I would do is announce the New Day, is actually have them show up and actually make a real push to 50K. Because I think there would have been people buying tickets just out of hearing that the New Day are going to be back wrestling in AEW. I really think that would have been a thing. But look, we're going the surprise route. That's fine. It is what it is. But at least, they're using them in a really smart, if that's what they do, very smart. Can't wait to either applaud or bury the decision of using the New Day in the way that they use them. But yeah, there's a lot of people looking forward to that now. I still think it's if they do it, it will be a very, very interesting choice to have them debut as heels. Not because I don't think that the New Day shouldn't be heels, but because AEW fans are going to be so excited to see them. They're going to welcome them as heroes. People are going to be excited in AEW to say the New Day are calling our promotion of choice home. It's going to be a very interesting choice. Very, very interesting choice. If Swerve and FK, the New Day, come out as the wild card, they're going to be defeating Hangman Page and Brodito, and Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito will be taking the pin. So there you go. Yeah, this will be, be a little gauntlet match. And, if it's gauntlet rules, as I'm assuming it's going to be, maybe Hangman and Brodito, maybe Hangman and Brodito are not going to make it. Maybe they're going to get eliminated by the Death Riders, which, would be absolutely plausible. But I don't think so. I think we're going to go for the Swerve Hangman Page confrontation, right? We're going to do that. We're going to have a little exchange of blows and whatnot. So that's what we have so far on the card. I'm fully expecting them to add Maya World versus Persephone for the TBS title. Might throw that on the pre-show. And Persephone is going to win if that happens. That would be my guess. Look, good on Tony for trying out Maya World in the context of all the goodwill that was building for her because of the death of her brother and whatnot. But I think we have come to realize that Maya World is just not ready for this kind of spot. And you got to try sometimes. And you got to pivot from that too, if it's not working out. And I think everyone realizes it's like, she still needs work. And I think she's very good. I think she's great. I think there's something there. But man, again, she's 3 years in the business. And she's 3 years in the business. You can see that she hasn't found herself. Her confidence isn't fully there. The way she handles herself during her entrance, she doesn't own the place, And that comes with time. That just comes with reps and working, and that's what she's been doing. And let's keep on keeping on. But you had to try. You had to give it a shot. It didn't quite work out. I think the backing from the audience was much more limited than a lot of people were expecting. Maybe even Tony was expecting a more extended what's the word I'm looking for? A more extended show of support. Maya sort of, yeah, she's not bad. She's just not at that stage yet. So, you know, try Persephone. Try Persephone. After all, WWE has been wondering how she's been. They don't understand how she's being booked. Like, why is she not being booked better? Well, there you go. She's very likely going to be Persephone 2 belts by the end of the show. I think that's what you do. I think that's what I do. And it's, you know, it's not a shot on Maya. You gave it a shot. She was an unknown commodity. You try it out. You try it out. You use it with the context. You see what kind of support that can generate. Well, didn't quite work out. Let's move on. That's all. It's a mid-card title. Who cares? It's fine. It's fine. So there you have it. All in London. Should be a good card. Should be a good show. Maybe even a great show. There's at least one match here that should be at the very least a match of the year. Let's get excited. Woo. Anyway, there will be a full review, of course, from Mr. Warren Hayes here that I will record after All In is done. So that'll be available for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel first and foremost. So become a member if you want to get that into your ear holes as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll be released on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show next week. So so my All In review will very likely be available later on Sunday evening. And then we'll even be back on Monday on stream to sort of break it down a little bit more. Voila. If Persephone wins, those WWE baffled by your booking articles are going to get reposted like crazy. People are going to have a lot of fun with those. Might as well, though. You might as well. I think the biggest commodity on the day will be stealing online coverage and having New Day as a surprise accomplishes that. Sure. Yes. I mean, look, at the same time, they have an NXT. What are they running? NXT against All In? What's on that show? What's on NXT? I know that it's like a 4-way, right, with Zilla Fatu. Immediately there, that's going to stink. Let's see. What are we running here? Is this it? August 30th. Yeah, that's the one. What do we got? We've got Tony D'Angelo defending the NXT Championship against Grayson Waller, Cruz Montana, and Zilla Fatu. Like, that's their big match. That's what they want to run against All In. Kendall Gray versus Kalani Jordan for the NXT Women's Championship. Zarya versus Ren Sinclair versus Kali Armstrong. A winner takes all triple threat to unify the NXT Women's North American Championship and the Speed Championship. Unserious, right? These people going, oh, the Speed title will be fine if it's not on Twitter anymore. We're gonna, it's gonna be great and it'll live on in NXT. It's a bunch of bullshit. Unserious company. Unserious title. Miles Bourne taking on Jackson Drake for the NXT North American Championship. Then Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights, what is he doing? Double duty, I guess, versus the Vanity Project for the NXT Tag Team titles. And then Jada Parker versus Shooter Natalia in a submission match. Boy, oh boy, that's sure making me reconsider watching a show that includes one of the two of the greatest to ever do it. Gotta maybe one, hopefully, Kendall Gray versus Kalani Jordan won't be at the same time, or that main event. I mean, I love me some Zillafat too. And then don't they have the AAA show happening in the meantime? Don't they have a AAA show on YouTube too? It's hard to get angry anymore about that stuff. Just like, oh, well. They're just doing damage to their own brands. It's fine. I'm honestly surprised WWE hasn't done something zany like debuting a ghoul or a robot on one of these kind of program shows just to rat fuck the algorithm. I'm trying to think of something funny to say and it's not coming. I think there was a layup in there somewhere with saying they should have debuted a ghoul. How about, oh, they have more than enough ghouls in the office. Hey-o. How about that? That funny? I think the biggest no, I read that. With how many men are in the Trails Gauntlet? This is the year to have the men's casino gauntlet end with the first two competitors. Yeah, let's just. Hey, Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. So that's it. So you see, I said, hey, and these are all good intentions. I was like, oh, if I have time, I'll do the Death Before Dishonor review. But no, of course I was going to go long on these topics. What are we talking about? The Death Before Dishonor review is also something that that's coming. Y'all are going to get a Death Before Dishonor review. Why am I saying a dishonor? Why, like it's a double Z there? You're going to get a Death Before Dishonor review probably tomorrow, I'd say. A full week after. Nothing like some ice cold takes on a pay-per-view that happened a week ago. So I'm going to do that. Going to put that in the can. And then All In Sunday night, review that. Back on Monday for the live stream. Mr. Warren Hayes will be back this week on Wednesday. And then back over to the Dynamite review. I should have said this in the review for All In to wrap it up, but too late now. I kind of get a vibe from AEW right now that they're excited to move on from all of these feuds and angles and stories and start up fresh post All In. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. We're done for now. Folks are saying, good job, Warren. Oh, I love them, folks. I love them, folks. We respect the long period of introspection before a review. Yeah, that's what it is. Well, we'll wrap it up for today. We're done. We're kaput. So let's pack it all up, folks. Thank you all very much. Thank you all so very much for showing up tonight, for leaving likes on the video, for sharing it out, for participating in the chat, or just hanging out. Even if you're lurking, it's tremendous, and I appreciate it enormously. I don't say it enough, but I have said it a lot. I am baffled every week that so many people still come on in and show up and want to hear what I have to think about pro wrestling, and it makes me feel good. So you guys and gals and non-binary pals, y'all make me feel good. And I hope I make you feel good. Hope it's something that's reciprocal. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week on top of that. And a great weekend on top of all of it all. Have it and enjoy it. And have a good time. And I will see you next time.